Now, I'm going to be joined by Lila Preston and Ryan Popple. So please come up. Lila. Hi. Thank you for being here. Oh, your chair got up here really fast. Okay. Talk about responsible companies. So Lila's with Generation, wait, I always get the name wrong. It's Generation Investment Management. Okay, that's what it is. But there's a lot of subsets of it. But you are mostly in the growth equity part of Generation. Generation is a company that was co-founded by Al Gore. In fact, when you and I first met, you were with Al, actually, in Davos. And it was set up many years ago. How 15 years ago?
15 years ago, yes.
And to do what?
Yeah, so Generation from the beginning put sustainability and sustainability research at the core of an investment process. And so we've been doing dedicated sustainable investing, since 2004. And the premise is that that is the best way to deliver long-term performance for our clients. So we're doing this because we truly believe that a holistic understanding of business models and management teams and the context in which they're operating, their sector transition, is the best way to invest, and that can deliver outperformance. And so we today manage around $22 billion of assets on behalf of institutions, pension funds, foundations, and endowments.
$22 billion under a company with that ethos. I love it.
Across public and private.
And Ryan is CEO of Proterra, which is a portfolio company, which is the largest maker of electric buses in America and not in the world. Probably the Chinese are probably ahead of you in that, but certainly in the U.S. Almost all electric buses that are going into urban infrastructures are coming from you now.
Yeah, we have the leading market share in battery electric buses for North American mass transit.
So it's perfectly in keeping with this logic of sustainable investing that's also ideally profitable. Maybe you should just talk a little bit about what Proterra is up to and where it is at the moment.
Sure. So at this point, we're up to 100 city customers. We're in 41, or we're in or deploying into 41 states, 2 Canadian provinces, hot weather climates, cold weather climates. I think we've done about 10 million miles of passenger revenue service. We build the first purpose-built battery electric vehicle for the mass transit industry. So that includes a lightweight carbon fiber composite body. We built heavy-duty battery technology for the operational requirements of the commercial vehicle sector. Drivetrain, charging technology, software to manage all of it as well from the cloud. And so our main market is building electric vehicles for the market that we think is going to be the first one to get to 100% zero emission. And the reason why buses are going to go 100% EV before our cars is because of the nature of how buses operate. In addition to that, we also sell battery pack technology, batteries, to other commercial vehicle OEMs. So you can see Proterra electric buses serving San Jose Airport as an example, or Raleigh-Durham Airport, or Alabama A&M University, or Chicago, Illinois. But next year you'll start seeing our battery systems and drivetrain in school buses, for example, that are manufactured by a partner, or tech buses that are on the 101 taking people to Google or Facebook, et cetera.
That's coming. That's not here yet?
That's right. We OEM an electric vehicle for the mass transit market, and we sell that directly to cities. And then in 2020, our EV technology, you'll start seeing it in partner company products as well.
Talk about how do you see Proterra as part of the portfolio, and what makes it significant? Why did you want to be here with Ryan?
Yeah, so we have a growth equity fund, which is our private investment strategy, which is called the Sustainable Solutions Strategy. So here we're looking to back businesses that are accelerating a transition to a sustainable economy across mobility, food, energy, enterprise, healthcare, financial inclusion, and so on. And we really think about planetary health, people health, financial inclusion. And in that context, we're looking for the very best business models and management teams that can bend the curve. And so we did a bunch of research back in 2015, 2016. We call them roadmaps on the future of mobility and the pivotal role that electrification would play, and up and down the value chain search for the best business models. And we decided not to play in the passenger vehicle market, which was highly competitive and a lot of people trying to own the passenger experience. And instead, we went towards personal mobility through a individual battery swapping and scooter company in Asia, and then through to kind of full defensible solutions for cities in the form of Proterra. So kind of defining a pocket of the market where they had a moat with respect to their technology, not only the kind of battery technology, but equally the ability to be a secure, trusted partner, not only for the unit sale, but full energy solutions. So powered by Proterra being one of the examples that Ryan can talk about.
Did you come to Proterra based on an analysis that we need to find a company in this space, or did you invest in Proterra because you said, oh, Proterra's out there, they're doing cool stuff, they fit into our narrative?
This makes me a little nervous. This is like asking your partner what they see in you.
No, actually, either one would be good for you.
Yeah, that's right.
The great thing about covering what we think about our research roadmaps is to map where we are in the early innings of what we call a technology-led sustainability revolution. Which
you do a lot of analysis.
Yeah, and Vice President Gore would put it into context to say he believes it will have the magnitude of the Industrial Revolution, but the pace of the digital revolution. And so we truly take seriously that every industry is undergoing massive shifts with respect to a combination of consumer demand, technological innovation, and regulatory frameworks. So we compete ideas across all sectors. So the best answer is this bubbles up not only as a high-quality business model management team, but it sits across all the things that we look at as one of kind of those excellent opportunities to drive profitability lockstep with impact, in this case, environmental in particular.
I love that you take that view with $22 billion. And talk quickly about this Sustainable Trends report that you produce so that people should have access to it. And that's some really serious work that you do that everybody can take advantage of.
Yeah, and Ryan and his team feed into this because what we do is we annually launch a summary of the best charts and statistics painting how we're shifting towards a more sustainable future or not. Mobility being one of the strong pillars of our Sustainability Trends report. You can download it on our website. It is somewhat like Mary Meeker's Internet Trends report. Pulls on 250 sources, and we, in this year's report, came to highlight the 2019 being the year where you have, I think, 5 million EVs or PHEVs on the road. Also, the fact that 16 nations have declared or have a framework for phase out of the internal combustion engine. So I think
16 countries have now done that.
Yeah, and even within the U.S., I mean, I think you could probably bring the kind of U.S. landscape to light. But these guys can operate globally, but are really leading the charge in the city framework for the U.S.
It actually goes to something I wanted to ask Ryan about. We've heard earlier about John Chambers is saying we don't have a national strategy for startups. We don't have a national strategy for a lot of stuff, and a lot of other countries do. How much of an impediment is that to you, and how global do you want to get? In other words, talk about how you see the U.S. kind of sustainable product market, in particular in transportation, comparing to what you see around the world, and how does it help you or hurt you?
Yeah, I mean, David, I think that's a great point. There really isn't an industrial strategy for the United States, and there are industrial strategies for competing economies. So that China is very clear-headed, and they're in some ways very transparent in terms of what they're going to do and by when and which industries they'd like to dominate.
Yeah.
That has had a very positive...
Intend to dominate.
Intend to dominate, yeah. But I mean, if you look at what they did on solar panel production as a classic example in clean energy, on the one hand, it decimated solar panel manufacturers in Europe and the US. On the other hand, it brought down the price of solar and is helping to shift the curve in terms of the CO2 impact of electricity. China was very clear about saying, we are going to go after the vehicles that make the most sense to electrify. And as Lila was highlighting, their investment in Gogoro and their investment in Proterra, in a lot of ways, they fit kind of the barbell approach that China took from a command economy perspective. So they said, we don't really care too much.
Well, Al Gore could have been the president. He should have been, right? But anyway, that's another matter. Go on, sorry.
And when you combine that with China, it gets really interesting. But yeah, so China basically said, like, we want to go after basically urban high utilization vehicles and little vehicles like scooters, taxis, and really big vehicles like buses and delivery. So in a lot of ways, they've shown what you can get done from a command economy perspective. That being said, though, we still generate better EV innovation and better innovation, superior innovation in a lot of categories in the US without necessarily a command economy approach. So Proterra holds the world record for the longest range electric vehicle. We drove 1,100 miles on a single charge.
Any kind of vehicle?
Any kind of vehicle.
Really?
Yeah.
What kind of vehicle was it?
It was a 40-foot electric bus.
Yeah.
Really?
Yep. We did 1,100 miles, just slightly higher. I think it was 1,103 on a test track. The previous vehicle that held the world record was like a German solar car that carried like one small passenger, like a coxswain and crew, the lightest person on the team. And we didn't know that we were going to break the world record. It turns out the energy density of the overall vehicle was better than any other vehicle that had been made.
Is that just because buses are bigger, they can hold more batteries?
It's the way we designed the vehicle, in that everything in that vehicle is designed to be a highly efficient electric vehicle, and it turned out to be, on a density basis, the most efficient electric vehicle design. So I guess I would say we shouldn't sell ourselves short in terms of, like, Tesla still makes the best electric passenger EV in the world, and they continue to innovate. So we're agile. We don't necessarily bring the scale that China does with industrial policy. That being said, we found that there's a real hunger to partner with US tech companies. So for example, we partner with Daimler, and we are providing technology, and we're collaborating with them. And there's a lot of collaborations we can do with US and European companies that they would not necessarily do with a Chinese company because of concerns about IP.
Yeah, that's
so I think
reasonable.
From a theory of change, one of the things I hope to accomplish with Proterra is not just lead a major vehicle sector in the US to complete electrification and show that it can be done. We can absolutely cut the cord on fossil fuel, but I also hope that we can get some of our design DNA into companies that are so much bigger than we could ever organically grow to be.
Really interesting.
Just this highlights the importance of what we call sustainable solutions businesses. It's not only first order effect. So yeah, these guys sell an electric bus that displaces a diesel engine, so this is not only lower CO2 emissions, but particulate matter and the relation between, respiratory disease and urban congestion. So that's first order. A second order is changing systems, changing the way in which cities operate, changing kind of like leasing models and providing services around.
So there's a much bigger opportunity than just selling buses.
Indeed.
Yeah. Well, one of the things, I had the good fortune of sitting at lunch at your table, and Tim O'Reilly was on the other side, and he had a great conversation with you. I said, what should I ask Ryan based on your conversation? And Tim said, tipping point. So what are we at or close to a tipping point in the desire for and the implementation of electric buses in particular?
Yeah, absolutely. And not just in the US, but globally. The C40 cities, those mayors have said they are eliminating tailpipe emissions entirely from their municipal fleets. The bus fleet tends to be the first place you start because it's such a fuel hog. I like selling electric vehicles to fleet operators, to mayors. We heard from the mayor of Cleveland earlier, and they are thinking about how do they deliver more service with less resources, and they're thinking about it the way a CFO would think about it. In some ways, it's hard to get the electric car market to tip because you're dealing with preferences like I've always driven a Ford pickup truck, or my dad drove a GM pickup truck, or something like that, right? That's not a business decision. So on the bus side, the tipping point, I think, has arrived. California, by 2023, 25% of buses they purchase have to be zero emission. LA, New York, Miami, I think 30% of buses in the US right now are covered by an action plan that bubbled up from the grassroots. It's typically at a mayor or governor level where they've said, I've run the numbers on my own, regardless of the gridlock in DC, this is where we're going. So I think over the next 10 years, we will see the complete replacement of internal combustion in markets that look like bus.
Wow.
Bus, school bus, refuse, delivery trucks.
I live on 14th Street in Manhattan. That would be good for me.
Yeah.
But one other thing I really want you to mention is, we heard from Sony with John Chambers this morning talking about how their business model is to empower the incumbents in part, to compete against the colossus of Amazon. And you also have, as a startup, a more kind of, I would say, pragmatic and somewhat unusual attitude about the existing players. Talk about that.
Well, I was at Tesla from 2007 to 2010, and Tesla had to be vertically integrated in everything they did. But my sense of urgency around climate and the environment, as well as competitiveness, like the U.S. we can't let ourselves be left behind and mess around with coal and engines when the rest of the world is moving to solar and LED and electric motors. So I just don't think we have time to take on everyone and poke everyone in the eye. So when I talk to a bus or a truck manufacturer, I don't view them as, we're gonna show up, we're gonna disrupt you, we're gonna destroy you, because politically, if our message is everybody who builds a diesel engine today is gonna lose their job, or everybody who builds a diesel bus is gonna lose their job, it's not gonna work. So we try to partner as much as possible. We tend to think that friends are assets and enemies are liabilities, and we're happy to humbly partner with a much larger company and help them transform.
Well, we've got to wrap, but one of the things that I just want to mention that I know you're doing, that instead of you saying it, you're hugely into school buses now, right? And that's something that you think could also tip fairly quickly.
Yeah, and we have no interest to build a school bus. We want to enable electrification of school buses, but we'd be fine with selling battery packs to Daimler and using the industrial scale and the operational excellence they already have.
So good.
And it's just, my final note is, this is one of these companies that, you can, as an investor, help because the door is open. And so we talk about sustainable solutions businesses being not only what they sell, so products and services, but then how they operate. So culture, human capital management, governance, their ability to receive, advisors. We've actually been instrumental in introducing their chairman of their board, Jack Allen, who was the COO of Navistar, Janine Sargent, who was head of innovation at Flextronics. Really kind of the engine room behind the buses is as important as just the product itself. And so we always encourage people to think about sustainable businesses as ones that solve problems with their products and services, but then operate in a way that is truly sustainable, such that we can scale these solutions, because we sure need them.
It's really good. We've got a sort of parade of responsible companies on the stage today, which I'm very proud of. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.